got her harp. Lovely. Perfect. Thank you. So I'm here today with Sarah Newman from Be Natural Music. Is that right? Be Natural Music? Got it. And she's here to talk to us today about sound healing. And I'm really excited to be here with her. And so first, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and then talk about sound healing and how you got into it.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm Sarah, and Be Natural Music, we are located in Santa Cruz, but we're actually expanding to Cupertino. And I'm very excited because I'm also working with Globe Institute with David Gibson and with a group of other educators, some of the music teachers, on expanding his curriculum for a sound healing curriculum. So my experience with music is like, I started as a saxophone player when I was 8 years old, and had that experience in school before a lot of music was cut out of the schools. I know a lot of kids younger than me kind of didn't get those opportunities, and just that healing experience of playing music with my peers. And in North Monterey County High School, I was able to do like almost 2 full hours of music before school every day. And then, so now though, as an adult, I teach mostly piano and vocals because that's the main instrument that young ones learn on. And, but I do like rainbow handbells, and really since 2016, when I got my sound healing certification, I've been, integrating more of like the sound healing into my lessons with the kids and with groups. So like we'll even talk about cymatics and the study of how sound vibration makes physical patterns in matter. You can see like on sand or in water. And we'll talk about how specific frequencies make specific patterns, and even look at, for example, like Fibonacci pattern, the flower or sunflower of life pattern, and then looking at that in nature and kind of making that connection of how everything is sound vibration. But a little more, back to me is, I've been, teaching the music lessons for one-on-one and with the rock bands. And Be Natural Music, we specialize with rock bands, and have like a jazz funk band. And then this whole world of sound healing, I'm still kind of jumping into that world. So,
sounds fun. I learned to play flute when I was in the 3rd grade, right? That's when I got the chance to be in beginning band, and I played the flute, and I played all the way through high school. And it was probably one of the best things for me going through puberty, because whenever I was grumpy or angry, my mother would send me to my room, go practice your flute, right? And the music would just be horrible. I would change the flats to sharps and the sharps to flats on purpose and just make this horrible racket until I was through whatever set me off, right? And my mother, she said, I always knew that you were better when the music started sounding good. Right? Because I would torture it to begin with out of anger. So it was a great tool just to move through emotion for me. And I'm certain that's the same for other people.
I love that because, dissonant timbres, like dissonant in sound healing, dissonant music moves that energy, that stagnant energy, moves the stuff we don't want out, right? So it's really nice to have that dissonance in sound healing, and then have a harmony aligning things, and then some dissonance again, maybe. It's all about that tension and release, the moved energy.
Yes.
And the metal flute, like concert flute, is going to be like really kind of activating in the higher tones too. Whereas like wooden flutes might be more calming and meditative.
Yes. So I played the flute, and then in high school I also played the piccolo, right? And so you had that really high pitch noise. It was great noise.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So talk about just a little bit about, so people who may not know much about music, like when you say dissonance, I understand what that means. dissonance versus harmony. So can you explain the difference between those two? Maybe use your harp.
Yeah, I'm using my harp kind of to, yeah. So dissonance would be like, it could be two notes really close together. It could also be like a harmonium is that Indian piano instrument. I'm wanting to get one.
Oh, yeah, they're cool.
It has all these reeds in it, so it's really I'm not describing it well. It could be two notes together, but it's also about timbre, which it gets into a whole world of describing timbre, which is like how we can hear the difference between one voice and another, or a saxophone and a voice. So certain timbres are more dissonant as well. It's about the overtones and the way that they're aligned.
Got it.
But dissonance will be is two notes that are close to each other, so it causes us woo 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 woo, and we can even get binaural beats. So that gets into some of the science around brainwave entrainment and different brainwaves like delta, theta, alpha, gamma. So you can use these dissonance or binaural beats, tuning forks that are just off from each other. For example, I have like a 111 and then 112.45. So the distance is 1.45 hertz, and you have one on either side, and you're getting this woo, woo, woo. And it puts you in a theta brainwave entrainment because 1.45 is in that range of theta.
Which makes me think of chanting, right?
Yeah, we'll put you in theta.
Right. Okay, got it. So how does sound affect people? Like, what is it used for?
I mean, I guess, we kind of all experienced it in different ways. Like sound in community. Sorry, I'm thinking about multiple questions here, kind of. But
sorry about that, if I went ahead.
Sorry, wait, say your question again.
How does sound affect a human?
Right. I mean, sound can be scientifically we know everything is vibration, right? So we talk about resonance a lot in sound healing. So I mean, if you're resonating, if you're liking what you're hearing, you're gonna resonate with it. Then there's also the scientific definition of resonance. Actually means that, like, if I have a pitch here in the room and then somebody else is playing it on a bell or singing it, the same unison pitch, it'll be amplified by two of the same pitches being the same. Or it's also about resonance frequency. So every building or every part in our body, every shape has a resonance frequency. For example, like the distance from this wall to this wall, if you find the sound wave that actually fits in the dimensions of the wall, that sound will be amplified. And then so we can actually science, we can break glass by doing that. You can find the exact resonance frequency of the glass and then some people can sing the pitch or have a tone generator that plays it back at it. And then you have to have it kind of nice and loud right at it. And then you barely like edge off the pitch, like a little flat or a little sharp, and it'll shatter the glass. And so they are actually using that, to break up kidney stones. They found it really effective, but they've been testing in science, like how to do that with different tumors or things in the body to break them up.
Nice.
Kidney stones is the best example. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had them before, so I haven't had the whole sound thing, but I could imagine it's much better than the other option of dealing with
like kidney stone or stone root is also a root that's really good for kidney stones. Or I have an herbalist background too.
Got it. It's funny how like you go down one path, you touch many other paths, right? And that's part of what Seeking Being is all about. Like, what are all the different paths that people can follow to heal different things, not necessarily physical, but spiritual, mental, whatever, emotional, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I believe, the spiritual and the physical are emotional, are connected, right? Yeah. And I'm really passionate about, getting sound healing kind of preschool with garden and nature, doing even sound meditations with plants and how that affects us and plants and our relationship with them. And, you know, sound, I mean, how does sound affect us? Sound can affect people negatively too. They are, you know, sonic warfare. Like there's actually still pirates. And what part of the world is that where there's still actually pirates and they actually will use like sound weapons too?
Somalia?
Yes, yeah, in that
Somalia.
area. Like
Yeah.
they've
Yes.
used sound weapons that'll get kind of distort, you know, that's really dissonant timbre, really loud, and that'll. I mean, even in ancient China, like they would use the gongs are one of the most healing instruments because they're so dissonant timbre and they can get really loud. But they were used also for the opponents would hear it and it drops their blood pressure and it kind of freaked them out too if you weren't expecting it.
Right. The
Yeah.
Scots used drums and bagpipes, right? And it struck fear into the other people. Like you heard this thing coming long before you actually saw anybody, right? So yeah, bagpipes are a
yeah, they're very dissonant too.
Yeah, exactly. So how does we talk a lot in Seeking Being about intention, and how does sound and intention work together?
I mean, they support each other, they amplify. I mean, so like have you heard about like Dr. Emoto? He has proven that sound changes the molecular structure of water. He actually has also proven that your thoughts are vibrations that affect the molecular structure of water. So you don't even have to make a sound. You can be holding the water. We know that we're made up, and I talk about this with the kids in some of my lesson plans. We know that we're made up of mostly about around, you know, they say anywhere from, what do they say? It's like around 75% water, right? It varies, but we're made up of mostly water. And so, yeah, just thinking about that, if you have like a negative, the studies show if you are having negative, you know, feelings, which we all go through, but it's about how we move through that, right? But if you're having like really intense negative thoughts, it shows up in the water molecules of your body. And you're having really positive thoughts. They look like, you know, beautiful sacred geometric patterns. And so I mean, just thinking about how if your thoughts are vibration, then if we are making a sound with the intentional healing thoughts, and your thoughts vibration, and you're sending that thought through a sound as well with intention, I just, you know, I think it amplifies that.
It amplifies it. Yes. I would, that makes sense. I don't know the theory behind it, but I do know that when we start thinking from the beginning of a conversation or something we're going to do, and we start from intention and thinking about what is our intention in this situation, we're picking we're setting ourselves up for the outcome we're looking for, right? If we have a positive intention, we're more likely to get the positive outcome, right? We're going to be a little more flexible, a little more adaptable to whatever comes towards us. And the way you think changes the outcome of things.
I think as the science is developing, it's important, and at Globe Institute, they talk about this, how it's because science has proven that you actually have to believe something like works for it to like that has an effect on how it heals you. So the science behind sound healing that's being done right now is really important for people to learn and understand, because then they can believe in it more while it's, you know, while they're going through a therapy treatment.
Yes, that makes total sense. And we have a choice about what we want to believe, right? We get to pick and choose those things. And if we choose to be open and believe something, then it can serve us in a way that's positive, I think. So let's see, we talked about the current science, and we talked a little bit about science healing. What does a healing practice look like when you facilitate one? Can you describe it?
So this is where I'm going to kind of get into my whole passionate thing about it is that I am only recently kind of pushing myself more to facilitate leading the way that I really want to facilitate sound healing. Is like Suzanne Sterling from Globe Institute. She was one of our many teachers. And so I'm really passionate about actually being like in a room full of people or outside creating. We did this with a women's group 2 weeks ago. We actually ended up doing it outside on the beach with actually a lot of people around. And so it was almost like it was meant to be, because what I'm trying to get at is that culturally speaking, like Western cultures, and I hate to say, but mostly like white cultures have, I believe, and my teachers believe, kind of created, and it really resonated with me when she said this, that kind of created this, we've civilized ourselves to think that singing and expressing ourselves is only for the artists, or it's not something for everybody. So I'm really passionate about creating a safe container, sacred space where people feel free to express themselves and kind of get over some of that. I believe that it's making some of it's making us sick as a culture, that we feel that we're not allowed to express ourselves creatively, verbally. I've heard, and this is what my teacher says, Suzanne Sterling says, that she's been around the world and she's heard, people say like, I can't sing. I've heard a lot of my young students say like, I can't sing, I don't know how to sing. And I'm like, what is that though? Like, we can all sing, and Suzanne Sterling says, and I agree, like, I've never met anybody who can't sing, just people that
Have watched
artists familiar with their voice, with that instrument, and just having the connection with that, like different timbres don't, like in different indigenous cultures, you might have like a crackly elder timbre voice singing something, and it's telling a story, and it's telling something with its timbre. So I just am passionate about everybody tuning in with your own voice, because your own voice in your own body and with others is one of the most important things about sound healing. I think it's the most healing instrument, really.
Got it. Thank you.
I offer, like I said, I do, with my students in the schools I worked at, I've incorporated some sound healing and chanting together, improvising. I do a lot of songwriting with young kids, getting them, writing songs. And that's really empowering and healing. I have this like sound pod that I got through Globe Institute. So that's really like how I'll do a one-on-one healing session, is I have like my tuning forks and maybe some essential oil that feels right for what that person needs. And it's literally this like half circle pod that vibrates sound onto your body. And so I'll use soundtracks that David Gibson has designed. There's also this man, Dr. Manners, in the 1970s, who was healing like cancers and tumors and all kinds of different things with specific frequencies, and got in trouble with the FDA, had to run away to Europe. And David Gibson has actually like taken some of these frequencies and now put even overtones on them, and like put them in tracks that we can play through the pod. So I want to, when we get the Cupertino location, I want to get a whole sound healing table. They have whole beds. And David even talks about how in like ancient civilizations, like I think he said like even Athens, a student's father was talking about how even in another ancient civilization, I can't remember what he said now, but they've had these tables before that vibrate sound to you in the past. So
I can't remember where it is, but there's been caves found that they know resonate at certain vibrations, and they've come to understand that those particular tunnels and caves were used as healing centers for people. They came in and created these sounds that resonated through these tunnels in ways that at the pitches that
right. Yeah, they literally would like like do sound sweep until you literally find the resonance frequency of the room, and you're chanting or singing, toning at that resonance frequency. It's amplified, right? Because you're,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot to it. There really is. It's amazing. And I'm really excited that we're starting to embrace it more and more, right?
Yeah.
And you're helping that to happen by bringing it in. And that's really cool. So how does music play into spirituality?
I mean, I guess anything from, like, a lot of us have some of our first spirit or musical experiences in church, singing together in communities, to like mantras and chanting. Um, like, for example, the Tibetan mantra Om Mane Padme Hum has been around so long and used with intention and spirituality that it's created like a positive groove in the world, is one way I've heard it described by Suzanne Sterling and other teachers, but yeah, I mean, how else do I answer this question?
It's okay.
Yeah, that I believe that, for thousands and thousands of years, and different ancient civilizations to current different indigenous cultures use sound spiritually. It puts us in that state of mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, my my training after grad school, I got into the Enneagram. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it describes 9 personality types. And in one of the classes, um, they talk about the 3 centers of intelligence: the gut, the heart, and the head, right? And certain sounds stimulate those 3 different centers. And we had an exercise where we used the word Ram really deep, and the whole room, they just everyone just breathed when they needed to breathe, and then they would hold that Ram sound really deep, and you could feel it in your gut. You could feel your belly vibrate, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
It really was. It was like the whole room just came together and felt together.
Mm-hmm.
I've wanted to repeat that. I haven't had that since 2008. And it's like, I know that exists. And you get afraid to talk about these things, right? Because you think people are going to think you're nuts. But in truth, you're not. It's the people who can't go there who are truly nuts, right? They just don't know that there's something so primal about people, and we've been ignoring it. We've been trying to purify, and that whole purify thing cuts us off from who we really are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, that's where I get really passionate about. This is what I want to create, that community, keep creating places where we are intentionally going there together and using sound to feel connected, and connected to our spirituality and our own power of healing.
Yes.
And yeah, I have similar experience. Like, I haven't had that feeling since 2016. I mean, I did actually have it, again 2 weeks ago with a women's group, and it was really, I don't know, it was really empowering for me. And I also watch myself and my self-consciousness, and it's just intense for me, like wanting to create and lead and create this space, and watching my own self get out of my way, and leading it, and just being goofy and playful. I have a really goofy, fairy kind of playful side, so just trying to go with that while I'm leading too, and making, yeah.
When you bring that, you create the space that allows other people to let go and be goofy too, right? That's a gift that you bring. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Ram resonates in the gut, Om resonates in the heart, and HU resonates in the head.
Right. Yeah.
Those three sounds can line those centers up in alignment with one another.
The Om, right? When we actually like go the ah is actually, when you try it, it's actually resonating outside of you the most, right? And then you go, oh, the O is resonating kind of outside of inside of you. And by the time you're at the it's literally resonating more in your body. So it's literally on a sound vibrational scientific way, we're like bringing in that sound consciousness. And yeah, Suzanne Sterling talks, different people have slightly different explanations of like the three resonating chambers, because obviously we use our diaphragm to push the air through, but then the resonating chambers are the chest, the low notes are the chest, the mid tones are like the back of the throat, and the high tones are the sinus and the brain. And like you're saying, you can have like the E sounds, E, well, the higher chakras and like awaken us, you know? Yeah. Whereas like the lower tones are grounding, and you can feel in your gut. Even though it's the resonating chamber of the chest, we can still feel it in the lower chakras and tune into that. And like a certain pitch might vibrate in my body slightly different than yours, because we have different bodies, right? So for everybody, it's kind of about experimenting with that. And like we said, it's more about the intention though than the actual tone. So when it comes to the science, this is what David says, when it comes to the science, no two people actually agree on like one specific frequency helping this one specific thing. It's like they found that this specific frequency did help this thing for this person, but they didn't test all the other thousands and thousands of frequencies. Maybe it was just the consistency and the intention. Like, but then there is a whole science behind the resonance frequency breaking matter. And yeah, so it's
yeah, exactly. It's not what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. It's about that internal experience, and sound healing is about the internal experience. I've been reading about the integral framework. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It looks at 8 perspectives.
okay.
So
Yeah,
it's a way of looking at situations, systems, whatever, and looks there. We all have an internal experience, and then there's people like, I'm looking at you, I'm having an external experience. There's an interpretation I'm making based upon what I can see of you, right? But that, just because I'm making that, like I'm relating that to my own self, right? Which doesn't necessarily mean that you and I are having the same experience. You're having an internal experience, and I'm experiencing you outside of yourself. They don't necessarily always line up,
right.
because I'm having my own, and I'm associating what I'm seeing based upon my past history.
I think that's something that's beautiful though about being with groups of people and being in sound healing and getting into states of consciousness, is that even if we are kind of like interpreting the individual kind of data in our own way, in groups, when you're in a group and you're toning and you're tuning into love and gratitude, then you kind of are all on that same, you know what I mean? Like, even though we might be our own ways of experiencing it and how we're going to go back out into the world and how that's going to affect us individually differently, I think that there is something to say about how that
resonates
together and resonates, and we are resonating on the same level when we do that.
Yes. Have you ever heard of holotropic breathwork? Yeah. Same principles, right? In some ways. Yeah. Have you experienced that before?
Remind me a little bit about.
So Holotropic breathwork uses deep breathing. So you breathe in really deeply as you can, and exhale as fast as you can. You do it lying down. You can't stand up because you'll pass out. So you
Right.
do it lying down, but then they play music with it. And while you're doing that, you're over oxygenating your
Hmm.
body, right? Because
Yeah.
you're breathing in and out as fast as you can, as deeply as you can. And what it does is it creates a trance state.
Yeah, we've done this with Sylvina at Globe Institute. She does that a lot. Yeah, with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So there's a
It did
lot of
make me dizzy. Actually, I had this situation where my wrist kind of locked because I have had low blood pressure situations, but it is in a group experience where we did this. I actually felt my wrist like healed in that moment, like completely healed. So yeah, I have had experiences like that.
yes. And frequently there's like a musical soundtrack that they play while you're doing this. And that's,
Sometimes it'll be very dissonant and disturbing. Yeah.
yes.
Uh, is the
Yeah.
way she did it. Yeah. You've had that kind of group experience, or you've done that before? Or?
Yeah. Enneagram classes, right? They brought in people and we had that, we did holotropic breath work. And yeah, I had the opportunity to sit for someone and then have someone sit for me. Because if you haven't, for people who watch this later, you're not all on your own. You have someone sit and
Yeah.
help and oversee to make sure that you're safe. And then you switch roles and then you do that. So yeah, I had the opportunity to do that and to help someone else go into the trance state and keep them going. The person I was working with kept, popping out. Actually, she kept falling asleep. And what I discovered was all I had to do was lean over by her ear and breathe deeply a couple of times, and that would put her back into the breathing.
Nice.
So I didn't have to say anything. I just had to influence her experience. And later she told me I actually did the right thing. Like when you're there, you're like, what do I do? But later she's like, that really helped me a lot. So it was kind of nice. But yeah,
One of
sound.
the really interesting things that we did in groups on each other and at Globe Institute was you can basically, with your voice, like scan another person's full body. You could also do it with the tingshaws. Um, you know what little tingshaws are, like they're string with little saucers,
Oh, okay.
bells that you chime together. And you can like scan it along the whole body, and you're basically listening, or when you're doing it with your voice, you're trying to hold a tone that's like in your middle range, so you can hold it strong, and you're just with no vibrato, like intentional vibrato, just holding it clean. And when you'll go over the whole other person's whole body, and with their permission, of course. And when you go over an area where there's like stagnation or blockage, physical or emotional, your voice will unintentionally like vibrato or change pitch subtly. It's same with the tin shots. You're listening and they change, they waver, they change pitch a little bit when you go over the area with stagnation. Or and then you would stay concentrated on that area and keep singing a consistent tone or playing a consistent tone, and then maybe barely like going off pitch, and then with intention of moving whatever energy that wants to flow. And
The images that's coming to my mind as you talk about that is people who have had their voice silenced. A lot of times as children, we get our voices get silenced because we need to be quiet and this and that. And so we learn to shut down our own experience, our own truth, right? And so that's what I'm thinking of is like, what a way to set a person's voice free.
yeah.
Am I speaking the truth? Is this
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, when you went there too, I went into, yeah, kind of back to the talking about how our civilization, we've kind of been like over generations, literally like traumatized. I mean, in some situations having to, yeah, be quiet to save your life. And I think that's along with like, oh, it's just too dangerous or silly or goofy to express myself in this way. There's just a whole, so many layers of what that is causing this, I believe, sickness in our culture, that we feel like we can't express ourselves in community. We are hardwired for this. We are hardwired to feel this in community, to express ourselves musically, through dance, through movement, and all be free to have that self-expression. And I believe that, yeah, it's causing dis-ease for people when we can't, if we don't have those spaces regularly. We're hardwired for it. For thousands of years, like civilizations, people have been doing this together, and we're,
yeah. I think you're correct. I think you're really onto something and bringing something back that we very much need. Very much. Yeah. So what's it like to work with kids?
Oh, it's the most rewarding thing in the world. What's more rewarding? I mean, I love working with kids. Yeah. Just so creative, and some way or another, I think, closer to source. We're all closer to source when we're born, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love working with kids. It's been so rewarding. I feel like blessed to have written so many songs with kids. I know, so I kind of go around on my harp and I'll sing and play songs that, like, I've gotten the kids to write.
Can you remember one?
Yeah.
Why don't you play one for us?
All right. Here, we're doing that. There we go. Dissonance. Oops. Oh man. Thank you, community. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you, diversity. Your rainbow flag flies high. Thank you, Santa Cruz, for your oceans, mountains, and skies. Thank you for your asphalt streets and your fresh beach beats. I feel the wind on my face, I feel peace in this place. I look at the wide open sky, beautiful colors clear my mind. A shiny sky of color makes my life feel fuller. A sunset is coming, it's like brightness before the dark. The colors are so very stark, the redwoods tower over me. I feel so grateful for these trees and the long and flowing creeks. Thank you, community. Thank you for accepting me. There's actually a couple more verses to do with this Spring Hill School. So that was a Spring Hill School song that we wrote during COVID.
That's delightful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So why don't you, just to close, why don't you tell us about Be Natural Music and like what you offer and how to find you and anything you want to share with us about that?
Yeah. So right now we're just redoing the webpage because now we have 2 locations. So it's been benaturalmusicsantacruz.com, but it's going to be benaturalmusicsantacruz.live. So that's like B, like the letter B, B-E, natural, Natural music, Santa, Natural Music, Santacruz.live. And so yeah, we'll be offering our like group classes again, because that is something that we do that hasn't been going on during COVID. But the main kind of thing that makes us different from other programs is that we're like a rock school / jazz funk. Each different band meets weekly, and then they get concerts in the spring and in the fall seasons. And we do really high quality audio and visual recordings. The whole concert gets recorded, but then they get to pick like 2 or 3 of their best songs per season and have a really professional recording of it. But that experience, some of these kids have been in the same band for like 6 years. And it's just, when you're in a band with a group of people like that, you grow together, you get that experience of the bliss of playing together and call and response, and then the togetherness of that builds, and they have their own like rock names and logos, band logos and stuff, and their own band webpage. So definitely, yeah, check out the website. And then we have our summer camp. We just finished this in June. I swear by next year, we got to do at least 3 summer camps. We've been doing 2 a year. This is our 10th summer camp. We do 2 a year, so more than 10 now. But basically, the kids get in groups. Sometimes it's bands that have already been in our program, but I usually end up working with the younger ones that are all new, and then they end up loving it so much they join and create their own bands. But basically, I love the summer camp because we write our own songs. The kids write their own songs. We write a music video script and create our own music video. It's all done within like a Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 12. Like by Tuesday, Wednesday, we've mostly finished writing the song, because Thursday they just need to practice it, and by Friday morning they're recording it on stage or in the recording studio. And it's just an amazing, empowering experience for everybody. We do lessons, one-on-one lessons. And yeah, we'll be starting group classes. And then in the starting in the Cupertino location, but also in the Santa Cruz location, I will be offering more sound healing group classes.
Will those be for children or for adults?
So I want to do both. I will be doing study groups in Cupertino with families with children ages 3 to 6 that want to be involved in these study groups over time. Basically implementing David Gibson and the Globe Institute curriculum and expanding on that. And then I also, want to offer like community adult groups and circles of different types. And my dream is to create one of the rooms to be like a sound healing community room, but it's like all padded. So it's also like a preschool kind of sound healing play gym. And like around the walls, there'll be little padded nooks that have different sound healing instruments. So maybe there's like a harp there in one, and Tibetan bowls in another. And then the main space in the middle is open, so we could bring in like a cymatics machine and look at the physics of sound and stuff like that, and experience different instruments for the little ones. And yeah.
Sounds like a fun.
Yeah.
It does. Is there anything you want to add at the end here? Anything you got to talk about?
I know, right? There's so much. Well, I mainly just want to thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. For doing this. You said that I'm your first interview. You have other people that you're going to be interviewing?
I have a yoga instructor that's committed, and I have a list of people that I've met along the way, but I had to start somewhere. And
Right.
Your mother is the one who's like, you need to interview my daughter, right? And so hooked us up together.
For like opening up with community and opening up the sound. Yeah.
Is seeking being is community, and looking at different practices that people do to align those centers and activate their spirituality and levels of consciousness. So yeah, it's been quite a journey for me so far since I started this. Yeah.
Right. But I know
yeah.
me too. It's kind of like, I know that some of all this information as the science keeps growing, as I keep tuning in my own spiritual practice around it, that I'll keep having realizations for the rest of my life around it. It's just, yeah,
There's no end.
opening. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually really quite fun. Yeah.
And if people are really, interested in looking at more of the science, I'm not as much of a science brain, but I know it's important. I kind of printed out like all the stuff about the science that we didn't really talk about, but check out Globe Institute's website. They have a whole section about the latest science too. So that's really.
Some people really need the science before
Yeah.
yeah, and that's cool. That's a good thing. Yes. Well, I want to thank you. It's been delightful, and I've very much enjoyed connecting with you.
Aw.
So, yeah.
Laura,
Really,
yeah, thank you.
you're welcome. I'm going to turn off the camera.
Mhm.